Shalom friends in Yahshua. Want to make a video about when Yahshua was born. Now, even though the hypocrites say that we don't know when Yahshua was born, and then they go and observe a certain holy day which is found on a non-biblical calendar, which is connected to different gods, and if there's definitely one day that Yahshua wasn't born, it was on any pagan festival. Because therefore, if he was born in any pagan festival, then how could he have came to fulfill the Torah? It's impossible. Because remember when he walked by the way with the apostles, he explained to them that he was the fulfillment of, the Passover and the holy days. All the holy days found in Leviticus 23. All the 7 feasts of Yahweh, his father, the God of Israel. Yes. Now I just want to briefly go through this very quickly. Now Mara is the Aramaic name for Miriam, and of course Mary is the English name. Stayed with Elisheva, that's the Hebrew name for Elizabeth, for 3 weeks, which was until the birth of Yochanan, which is John. Since a full pregnancy term is around 40 to 41 weeks, and 27 weeks make up the first 6 months, which consist of 2 trimesters, which is exactly the time from the discourse of Abiyah to Chanukah, which is a festival out with the 7 that were prescribed to observe as Christians, and Christian believers in the Messiah, because we tell people that Messiah came to fulfill these festivals. You're not doing that? Well, bear with me, because we're actually called to witness to the Jews first and then the Gentiles. So you need to get this first part of your witness correct so that you can walk a little bit closer to your Hebrew Messiah. So that leaves 14 weeks to accomplish the last trimester, bringing the pregnancy full term. They're exactly 14 weeks from Chanukah to Passover, okay, which is Aviv 14. Therefore, John the Baptist was born at Passover. He was circumcised on the 8th day, which would be the last day of Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which would be the 22nd of Aviv. We know that he'd go forth in the strength and power of Elijah. We find that in Luke 1:17. Jewish teaching was that Elijah would come again at Passover, and this is still the tradition in Judaism today. Now that was fulfilled the first time around by Yochanan the Immerser, and it is being fulfilled today because, remember, Messiah called John. Okay, so he actually announced the coming of the groom to the bride. Remember that? So, among us today, there are Yochanans, yes, who go around and they announce that the groom is coming for his bride, and for his bride to get ready for the groom is coming. Now, the 2 witnesses will be involved in doing that for their short 3.5-year ministry, probably in Jerusalem, quite soon. So get ready for that one. And I believe, that these teachings are grounding for any believers in the Messiah right now, because if you can basically perfect your understanding a little bit better, then it will prepare you for the 2 witnesses ministry that is coming upon the earth reasonably soon, I believe. Now, the conception time of Yahshua came on the feast of Chanukah, which is in this month, called Kislev. It started yesterday, and it happens on the last week of this month, the feast of Chanukah. And that's the time I believe that the angel Gabriel announced to Miriam, that she was going to bear a child, and his name was going to be Emmanuel, which is Elohim with us. That's what the name Emmanuel means, Elohim with us, or God with us. I'd rather cut out that word God, as it has pagan roots, which is in most of the English language, unfortunately. So, that the first trimester takes us to the Feast of Passover, and then on to Pentecost, and then right to the first week of the Feast of Tabernacles was when Yahshua would be born, the King of Kings, Yahweh who came to tabernacle with man. That's who Jesus Christ is, that's who Yahshua the Messiah is. He is Yahweh. Okay, and that's what the apostles taught. That's who they said he was, the King of Israel, actually the God of Israel come in the flesh. That's who we should preach the Messiah as to the Jews and Gentiles. Okay, the true God come in the flesh to die for our sin so that we may be reconciled to him. Now we know that that he came to fulfill the holy days. Now the popular Christian teaching I was speaking about the other day was that he was the holy days. In other words, he became them so we don't need to observe them, and that's nonsense. He came to fulfill them so that we can know him by these holy days, so that we can associate these holy days to him and him to these holy days, because remember, he's from eternity. So we are living in a time cycle that is from Genesis 1:14, and the moedim of the stars, the sun, the moon and the stars, to keep in check with his timing, because therefore we wouldn't have a calendar if it wasn't for the sun, moon and stars, because that's what they're for. They're not for worshipping, they're not for naming other gods, which the pagans have done, and they call it the Christian calendar, which is really nice of them, because things like that really anger the true God. It really does anger him, because it's an abomination to him. It's almost like holding up an unclean thing and saying, this is Jesus. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine holding up an idol or a piece of unclean meat and saying that this is your Saviour? Now that's basically what Christians do. They even go beyond their own wickedness and wretchedness. Our righteousness is like rags before the eternal, right? But they go even beyond that. They don't even say that they're righteous. What they get is they find the most filthy thing that they possibly can. Let's say an idol, and you roll it in dog's dirt, and then you hold it up, and you worship it, and you call it the true God. That's what you're doing when you worship false holy days, when you don't give the Messiah his correct place in the fulfillments of Yahweh's holy days. That's exactly what you're doing, and it angers Yahweh. It really does. And if you read the rebukes of the churches at the start of the book of Revelation, you'll start to find out what I mean, because the Messiah actually begins to take his light away from certain congregations. And if you pursue your idol holy days and your false holy days and associate the unclean with the clean, then you're in danger of being cut off. You're in danger of losing your light, which is who is the light of the world. And we're to make sure that we are in constant communication, that he is our light, and that we, in effect, are lights to the world in his name. Another quick thing I'd like to mention is the identity of Israel, very quickly. And I'll try to put some pictures up as well if I can find them. Now, we know that Israel was dispersed to the four winds, it says. That was the prophecy. So you will find sons of Israel in every single tongue, kindred, and nation in the world, okay, right now. There will be Chinese Israelites, there will be Indian Israelites, there will be Caucasian Israelites, there will be Negro Israelites, there will be brown Israelites, there will be red Israelites as well, the red man, as in the red Indian, who obviously migrated from parts of Asia, and of course a lot of the Celtic tribes, who are again not really associated with the Caucasian race, okay, who are, I believe, from the tribes of Reuben, Gad and Manasseh, who I believe these tribes actually migrated west through Greece, through Spain, and down again towards France, over to Ireland, and eventually over to Scotland. And that's why we have the Stone of Destiny. It was in Scotland. Now that's the stone that the kings of Israel were crowned upon. And obviously you look at the nation of Scotland and you look at you try and read a little bit about its history, then you find out that it's the only nation in the past 2,000 years that's actually got a covenant with the true God, with Yahweh. And the nation of Scotland was the only one to not be overcome by the Roman Empire. Now, I believe in the last days that the anti-Messiah will come from the bloodline of Israel. Okay, so he will be a Celtic man. So he will actually claim bloodline from going back to the kings of Israel and even the kings of Judah. I believe the anti-Messiah will also claim lineage from the kings of the Middle East. He will actually claim lineage from Muhammad. He'll claim lineage from Merovingian, French and Flemish kings. It will probably be a little bit like, when King Herod was given that sort of kingship in Israel. He was actually given it. He was handed it from the seat of the dragon, and it was the dragon that gave Herod his power and great authority.